Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shambhavi Spectrum Marketing Magic Industry Insight series. Today, my guest, who I should maybe coin a new term as COVID pruner, Arundhati Sehgal is here with me. The company she has, which is same with her name, is Sehgal Consultants. And I personally appreciate the time that she has taken to be on here and share with us some of the background, the why and wherefore of the company, and give us more insights into the industry itself. Welcome, Arundhati.
Hi, Dr. Shambhavi. What a wonderful introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited. It's an interesting session that you have, both in terms of the name as Spectrum, because it's so relevant to branding and marketing magic. So I think as marketers, we love the concept of creating magic. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
So thank you for appreciating that name. And one day I will have a discussion on this Spectrum again on why I chose this as my name for my consultancy as well. But today it is your day and your floor. So tell me more about what is Sehgal Consultants all about? What do you do?
Great. So we are a very boutique branding and digital marketing consultancy, which actually kind of took its shape because of during the COVID, I had actually transitioned from a corporate role to doing kind of almost dabbling to figure out to walk into another corporate role. And then, COVID hit and all that. So there was this lag. And my husband being an entrepreneur, he was like, you have a lot of, interest and talent and passion. So rather than waiting, why don't you start something? So I never thought I had even an iota of entrepreneurial spirit, where I think, that's what partners are for. And then he kind of pushed me and it became very exciting, interesting. So it's been an evolving journey. And I come with a background of nearly 20 years into branding, whether it's, not-for-profit sector. I worked with the United Nations. I worked with British Council. I worked in the corporate sector and for engineering companies, marketing, construction, at different levels, managing global brands, etc. So I think it was just an interesting way that I thought about it and said, why not do something different and help various companies? And also this massive need for companies to now move digital. So it's been an eye-opener for me as well, because because from the beginning of my career, I've kind of digital has been part of me. So in fact, from the very first job that I had, so it naturally feels that everybody is going to be digital. But when I actually started this, I'm realizing there's so many who are still trying to figure out, should they go, should they not go, how much should they go? And it's a completely new animal now.
So you're telling me that 20 years back when you started your career, digital was already on top of the line for you? You were already involved in it. Can you tell me more about it? How was that?
Yes, so it's very interesting. So actually, one of my first roles was with a very well-known Indian not-for-profit called Center for Science and Environment. And I worked with them in their publishing division. So one of my roles was so I was a photo researcher there. And I used to kind of, you have to identify photographs for the publication. And I was downloading data from the Durham University for the publication. So that was very fascinating, how you could just do it sitting here and, you didn't. So the speed of it, the speed of digital publishing house that I worked with, which was like one of the very few in those times. So all that kind of got me very interested. And I also had done a bit of digital study on the digital front, on the website front. So I kicked off from there. Then I moved to another organization called the Tata Energy Research Institute, which ran the first sustainable development live event, which was literally running from the conference event, taking the data and uploading it on the website. So that was live in those days. Okay. But it was the first of its kind. And so we were very excited in those days. And within 24 hours, we had the conference live on the website. Now it's a couple of minutes or seconds rather, but that's where the journey began. And that's kind of stayed with me.
So the last 1 year is like actually for you, I mean, apart from whatever COVID brought in, it's like been there, done that, and just maybe time and technology has kind of aided a little bit, created things faster. But you've already done all this stuff.
I think the interesting part of digital is it's been evolving so much. It's never been there, done that. So what I did those days, the basics of branding and marketing don't change, but technology's changed, platforms have changed, and the most interesting is consumers have changed.
Right.
And even business owners have changed their perspective. As I said, lots of them were very skeptical. Now they're like, yeah, we have to be there because that's where the consumer is.
Yes.
So there was a time, I remember in one of the manufacturing companies that I worked with, I struggled for 1.5 years to sell the concept of why, even if you're a B2B, you should be on social media and how you can leverage content. So I've been this absolute advocate of how important content and the variety of content that you can create to tell your story. So it was a big struggle to sell that those days. But now I know that the same company and several others have their own digital units. So it's I think it's the journey of continuous evolution in digital, which keeps me interested in the business, and that's one of the reasons this has kind of evolved. It's still very, very nascent stage though.
So do you have a techie background or anything like that also, which was always intrinsic to you?
Not as not that hardcore, but yes, I dabbled with learning database, actual Oracle database management when I was studying. And I also did a full on website development, and I have worked with organizations where I have developed the hardcore coding part, not just the UX and UI, but the coding as well. But that was really quite a long time ago. So when I transitioned in growing my career, but I kept abreast with it. So yes, so that helps. So I used to do analytics, I used to do CRM. So I think I just picked that up, but it's changed, it's evolved so much.
Right. So you've been in UAE for how long now? I mean, your company is about a year plus old. Not even a year plus, sorry. Yeah, within the year. So how long have you actually been in the UAE? And
yeah, in the UAE, I've been here for about 6 years. Okay. So I came in here to kind of rebrand an Oman-based company. So they were going global and moving from their organic to, had a lot of investments, etc. So rebrand that. So that's where I stepped in to this region.
Okay. So apart from your husband who kind of, supported you, have you had any other mentors leading you to the entrepreneurial journey that you've taken up now?
I think I met, that's one of the interesting things, who have not been my direct mentors. But I think during this COVID period, I think I connected with lots of people who have played different mentorship roles. And I think one of them, even it's not a direct mentorship, but Sridhar, like from
yes,
we've met. They helped me connect. So he's one of them. There's another women's entrepreneurship group that we have. They're not like labeled as mentors, but I think they played a great role in building that resilience, because I would kind of fall off like, and this is not for me types.
I agree with you on that. The entrepreneurial journey is usually a little lonely. And when you network with other people and you know that your problems are their problems also, that helps like a support group. And then of course networking, because it's the best when you refer each other for whatever projects, or when you think about, I think networking has always been a part of marketing as such, whether we call it pyramid marketing or whether we call it but it has always been a part of it. And so that is one thing. Let me just get into a little detail about your organization as such. So let's start with the name. How and why did you choose Seagull Consultants as your brand name?
So one of the interesting things was both, my husband, as I said, runs a couple of companies. And then this was yet another venture into the family, this business, into the family. So we thought, if we started as Seagull Consultants today with this particular vertical, maybe in future we could add on a couple of more things and make it. So we wanted to keep kind of bring the family pride of entrepreneurial spirit as well. So he comes from a family of a lot of entrepreneurial minds and businesses over the years. So we thought, why not? rather than looking for something else. So we just thought everybody's trying to brand it in a name. We will give it. And we were lucky, we got Seagull.com.
Oh, wow.
And we got SeagullConsultants.com. So we were pretty happy that.
Yeah, so what Tata is today, Seagull will be tomorrow. My best wishes. I mean, it's and then like you said, there's a personal pride in it. So I totally get it, and wish you all the very best with that. Tell me more about what are the offerings that, as a brand or as a company or this particular vertical, what do you offer?
Yeah, so we have largely looked at although we've come from the background of branding and marketing, because that's the kind of journey, a professional journey they've had, but also looking at what the market is requiring today. So there are 2-3 verticals we've kind of created within the business. One is for those companies who obviously have to market to reach out, but cannot invest in-house teams, or they have a smaller team, but would like to outsource a larger chunk of it, not just projects or small one-off services. So that's one service that we provide. So we are the extended marketing arm. So we kind of become the outsourcing arm for them. So from strategy to helping them do the planning, to helping them identify which digital platform to go, what kind of content to do, and execute it for them. So that's one big thing. So another is, yes, a series of digital services which can be one-off. So there are some who start and say, we only want SEO, we only look at social media marketing. So we provide that. Fortunately, 1 or 2 have kind of latched on to more because of the service that we provide. So some may come to say, we're only looking at content marketing. Then there is another set of services that we give is to help startups kind of pick up, because they're also struggling with, so we kind of almost in the same journey, the journey to figure out where to market, how much can we spend, is it right to spend? So not everybody is able to, go into a big agency and work with them. So they get these number of years of experience. And then I work collaboratively with a few people who help us for technical support, who help us for writing, who help us for social media engagement supports, etc. And then, of course, a separate wing which largely looks at just the brand transformation that you may need. You may pick up the marketing tools, you may not. So these are the 4 areas that we support.
So the digital marketing and content creation, that particular field is becoming more cluttered and there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
So is there something specific which you have as a USP, maybe with a specific industry or specific type of client, or do you have some USP for yourself?
One of the things is we haven't limited ourselves to a particular industry, but yes, a few markets as of now. But not industry, because I think that's the exciting part as well, which I'm finding, because when I was working, it was like one vertical throughout the day, but there is a diverse needs, and so diverse. So that's there, so which helps us bring skill set and ideas from different places. So that's one. Competing in the competition, we've also realized that I think quality is what defines us very clearly. And we also tend to provide that quality with a little extra number of services. So while, for example, the most commonest and the most competitive right now is the SEO market, right, which is largely dependent on, we give you X keywords and Y keywords and stuff. Yes, we will do that. We probably give you more. And at the same time, we give you way more intense quality of inputs that go in, creating unique content, and also the number of activities. So that gives us the edge. And fortunately, we've had few clients who realized that, they started with 25 keywords, moved on to 35, and now they're realizing they're actually present in 300. Wow. So anything that they look at in their name, they're there. So that's, I think, the edge. The edge is providing quality and quality quantity also. So right. I may say I'll give 25 articles, but if there are 25 not so good articles, they really don't give that traction. So that's where I think that's what we want to stand for, is the quality that we give to our clients.
So now that you mentioned that you are, it's not specific, you're not industry specific. which I'm a great believer in it, that for anything to work successfully in marketing, you need to do your research. So how much time do you think you devote to research every week, maybe, or do you have a daily plan for it?
So so when I say we, is I do a lot of brainstorming with all the collaborators. So we spend literally almost like every day about an hour to discuss where both the market is moving or how our experiences with clients have been, because we really don't have that research team to sit and do it, but to see where our marketing efforts, what's gone well. So, the kind of projects that we have, is they're short term, they're not necessarily long term. We've only had like one long-term project, but most of them are short-term. So they're all learning curves. So we use that as a lot of research to see, and especially since we're reaching out to different diverse industries, that gives us a lot of insight on, for example, there is a need in the construction market. They're very keen, but they're very reluctant. So there is it's a very slow movement. Whereas there are certain other retail sectors which are very keen to move. There is online learning, which is like fast paced. So we are, I think, picking up, literally doing this research on and review. I would say research and review for us goes like simultaneously almost every day.
Okay.
Trying to dedicate like that rather than saying we'll do. So it's just a different approach, I think.
Yes. Yeah. No, so I just wanted to know whether it's continuous, or do you actually think about it, or it just happens along the way, and which is what I think that, the learning happens along the way as you look out for your clients, and they also help you in that, which is an important thing. When they are collaborating and they know that you have their best interests at heart, they also want to give you that information, which is really very important. So it's not like the company has just handed it over to you and like you take care of it. That doesn't work well in the long term. Like you said, in the building the relationships, it doesn't really work very well in that way. So that's why I wanted to ask about research, like especially you said so many industries. So I said, okay, then how do you deal with it? The next thing after, which I'm very interested in knowing about, is, so you spread the word about your offerings or your work through networking. What other marketing do you do for yourself?
We do, typically, in fact, I think you are an integrated marketing expert. So in the same way, I believe, marketing is like the oxygen of a business. And so the first thing we did is we apply that rule to ourselves. We need to market ourselves to be known. We are too new. And as you said, it's highly competitive. So we've looked at from different areas and looked at where our customers are both. So we look at markets. So we reach out through, of course, building our own, brand equity online through SEO. So it's a much slower process and in a highly competitive thing. So we've looked at Google advertising. We've looked at the building the brand through SEO. We look at CRM. So we go through a lot of email marketing activities for different regions. There's a lot of content marketing that goes. We are looking at social media marketing. So we are looking at all the things from two perspectives. One is to market ourselves as the first, so it becomes an experiment as well. So we give the best to our clients. And the second is, you need to reach out to different audiences to know you. And it's not necessary that one particular mode of marketing will really work, because as I said, diverse industries and almost everybody needs digital marketing. So because of the generic service, we are able to actually use each of these channels. So we're using multiple channels. We've not gone into influencer marketing yet. I think it's too early for us to go into influencer marketing.
So you have a Facebook page for the company?
Okay. We have Insta page, we have YouTube.
Okay. So how often do you post on your YouTube?
YouTube is very, very new. So I think the second or the third post was just gone yesterday. So, but we've moved into, consciously decided that yes, now that we've kind of started ruling, we will do these posts almost at least once a week.
Okay. And what kind of content would you recommend normally to anybody to do on YouTube?
Well, that again depends, but I think two main types of contents which I feel gets most interest is, one is the challenges that your client faces, not you, but what your client would be facing. So if it's me, I would be more talking about. So just I think yesterday we just posted one video which talks about why you should not ignore the power of content. So as I said, I'm a strong advocate of that. So it's more about making people understand the importance of the not the service, but how digital will help their company. So it's again solving there. So that's one is how it will help, and the other is how they can overcome their challenges. So I look at these two areas as to keep the focus.
So it's also about creating awareness of around your own brand and letting people know out there that what you are doing.
Yes.
The YouTube is basically, you would say. Do you have a LinkedIn page?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I have a personal LinkedIn page and also the company LinkedIn page.
The company, yeah, that is a question.
Yes.
So tell me one thing. I have this serious challenge which I face is many people set up company pages under a personal page, like as if it's a personal page, and then they send links out to you, which happens on Facebook also, mind you. And for some reason, I don't know why, I feel very uncomfortable liking those pages or or making them as a friend, as a connection. Now, what is your take on that?
And my take is also the same, actually. When you get random invites, it's a little, so as LinkedIn very clearly, I think a lot of people have been talking about LinkedIn. It's like, at least introduce yourself, at least tell what it is. So I can decide. So I think that choice is there. So while you have to reach out, but I think it's always good to introduce yourself. It is a platform to connect. So you're welcome to connect. But don't randomly connect and blankly connect is what I feel.
Yeah, no. So also further up than that, like the Facebook page, if they have a name, like, so they just pretend to be, instead of a Facebook page, they create a profile for themselves, an account. Yeah. And then send you a friend request.
Okay.
So I'm saying like that, which is similar, which happens on LinkedIn also. People create an individual account with that name, with the name of the organization. And then send you a connect request, not to follow the page, but to become a connect request.
Yeah.
So I was asking about that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I mean, there are awkward moments, definitely. But I think I also understand this. It's not necessary that we know LinkedIn already is a professional platform. So we're really not expecting so many random, as Facebook. Facebook is like anybody and everybody.
Yes.
So that credibility we can give to LinkedIn. So you can go and the other thing is you can go and check, the individual persons without accepting. Also, you can go and check and see, maybe connect, not connect. That's your choice. You shouldn't bombard, of course. That's not advisable. But you never know. I mean, I'm not very.
Actually, now that you say it, even I think I agree that, okay, if LinkedIn page is even as a personal connect, that's okay. Whereas Facebook, it's like a big no-no out there.
Yeah, Facebook, I think we're having thousands.
So, exactly. I think I would probably agree with you that, how we deal with each platform is a little bit different. Tell me more about your website. What kind of a website is it? Is it dynamic or is it just basically static? Do you have a chat bot? What do you have on your website?
We don't have a chat bot. We just have a chat, which comes as part of the tool. So we have a very simple website. We've kept it very simple because websites consume a lot of time and energy. It's important to get the right information out, and it's also important to get us out because we were setting up as a digital marketing company, so we had to be up and going quickly. So we couldn't wait for this hugely intense platform. So we started very small. In fact, we are starting another one soon. We're coming up with another website. So we'll have one. Legal.com, because we've realized that, as I said earlier, so there is one vertical who's looking at outsourcing, and there's another vertical who's looking at digital purely. So we've decided to do that. So we'll be coming out with that soon. So recently, I've also got a request for doing a lot of personal branding. So I think we're evolving. So branding is becoming very important, and I'm very passionate. So I'm very happy that people understand the importance of it. So giving that identity, so we thought, okay, why not service that separately so that it doesn't get mixed up. So it's a very simple website. Yeah.
Okay. And nowadays, more people are into the personal branding aspect. So what you say actually does make sense. And about the website, yes, I must tell you, which I must share my experience with you today, which I just opened a website and I was trying to navigate it. And this website has a chat bot which comes up in like about a second after I open the website. And then there is a message down below saying that accept the cookies. And then I'm just stuck because the chatbot message is covering the cookies message where I can't click and say, okay, I accept or something. So I'm just stuck there for a few seconds and I got so frustrated. I just closed it and moved on. I mean, these are such simple things. And it makes me wonder, do people actually get onto their own websites to see how it is? What's the functionality? Or is it just, it has to be there kind of a thing? You just tick the boxes and say, that's done.
No,
so when you're
so what also happens is many times browser compatibility causes issues. So that's when so this struggle between setting up the website, running the business, and checking the UI UX and different, it's all hugely time consuming and different. It's not now, but I've also seen when we were I was part of companies also. We used to tell the teams to start looking at the website and tell us, because that is inside intel, which actually helps. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Within your own organizations, people really don't go to the website. So it's the customer who keeps kind of saying, oh, this is not working.
Yes, exactly.
The challenges. But I think website challenges is something, as you said, research and review. I think that applies to website as well, because that's one of the very important things which all of us need to do.
Something interesting which you've been saying all along, which I wanted to ask you about, is you use the word we many times. So do you have a team of people?
I have, as I said, I collaborate with people and also have advisors and, business friends, and then a couple of contacts in different regions that I'm trying to reach out. So I have this habit of saying we, because I totally believe I cannot do on my own,
So think of them as we. So it's a
habit.
Yes, I appreciate that.
People have asked me this, and I said, I know I cannot work, even if they're collaborators. I think they play a key role. It's because of all the efforts that we make the difference. So
you mentioned email marketing some time back. So I want to ask you, do you send newsletters?
No, it's a kind of a mix of. It's not a purely salesy email that goes. So it's a blend of the blogs that we write, the services that we provide, and wherever we can intersperse, we try to put the latest video links.
So which I would have, I would have asked you the next question is, do you write blogs, and how often and things like that? So please do tell me for yourself. Yeah, please do go ahead and tell me. Yes.
So this is, so that's the email format that we've tried to do. So there are multiple people kind of I've been noticing and researching to figure out. So there are either purely marketing emails that go, or purely subject oriented. So we thought, let's give it a different twist and do a mix of it. So there could be somebody who reads it who wants an offer. There's somebody who's like, I'm not looking for an offer, but this is an interesting idea. And somebody's just curious. So I think we kind of want to cater to, before we start putting a fixed structure. We're too new to start putting fixed structure. So that's the way it goes. And yes, I do write, enjoy writing. I don't have the time right now, but I love writing.
Okay. What about video vlog or video blog or whatever? What about that? What do you think about that as a marketing strategy for any kind of stage that the life cycle of an organization is? Do you recommend that to people?
I have been a very strong advocate of video blogs, largely because I think it's such a live connect with people. Even though it's not, it doesn't necessarily end up being a dialogue, but it's like, when you see somebody, you believe. So even if you don't have to do 100, so most of my videos are not 100% just being like the face hitting you. So the concepts come as visuals, and then it's a mix of things. But I think video really connects with a lot of people. If you start noticing, so that's again a part of research which we do. So we keep asking a few people on, what do you watch maximum on social media? What do you spend time on? And then you'll realize most of them are actually scrolling, and with the reels and with so many things coming up, knowingly or unknowingly, you're actually watching videos.
Right.
So it is a connect which happens. And we still have the gap of not many people still read a lot. They're very happy if
Yes.
someone just tells you in 2-3 minutes. While he would love that people read our blogs, but I also understand that only a serious reader really reads the blog. So you need to structure. So actually, that gives you a lot of insights on how to structure your blog. So not also follow off by saying that it's not always the number of viewers or the subscribers or the followers. Even if you have 5, 10, 20, if they are really serious in looking at your content, that's enough for you to grow your brand actually.
Right.
I
I know
have
you're
this.
telling me I'm still looking for subscribers. But I've only just recently started telling people that like it or subscribe, and otherwise I was just putting out the content there, and I wasn't very bothered, because for me the content of the talk was so much more important and holds so much more value,
Yes.
whether it's my students or whether it is budding entrepreneurs who look for these kind of insights on what can you do and what you can't. That was more important for me. So it's great that you say the same thing, that 5 or 10 people also is okay till the time they are your serious.
But I also do say yes to promote within that circle. It's very good. You must do that. It's not that you shouldn't promote at all. You have to market yourself ultimately. You have to tell, because what I say is, all good products exist, but unless you tell the world, because it's full of it.
Yes.
So you are having a great product. You have to do some bit. But I think we shouldn't just get carried away with, oh, I don't have enough subscribers. But if you have good content, it will gain traction, is my strong belief.
Right. So the content, so ultimately we do come back to the content part of it. So how often do you think one should post on, apart from the social media or whatever which you do, how often do you think one should post, whether on LinkedIn or your blog, or how often should one post?
So I think the most important part is which stage of business that you are at. Because if you are at a nascent, like you're just building it up, I don't really think so there are different schools of thought. Some say bombard it with content. But I say if you have to run the company, you have to go slow and steady is always better. It helps to grow. It helps you to think actually of what you're giving. So it's better to give the right quality content rather than just bombarding. Everybody's writing. I don't know if you've noticed, but everybody's writing like small snippets of lots of things.
Yes.
But I tend to always read those which talk about the insights, a little more deeper insights into it. So I think you have to study your audience and then see, are they only wanting those small snippets? Then you can churn out much faster, because that really doesn't need a lot of deep thought. But if they're looking for specific things, it's better to invest time and write even one a day, one a week, like on LinkedIn, for example. Facebook and Insta, maybe, Facebook and Insta has a very vibrant young crowd. So to grab their attention, I think it's always better to go into something more vibrant and energetic, like a video or whatever. Keep it short. Again, you don't need to go crazy about posting every day. Then again, there are so many factors. Then again, depending on which industry. So are you, into something where they want every day something? Then so when you have to do every day, I think your micro content needs to become nano content.
Yes. And which is everybody's challenge: content creation, what to write or what to write about, how to bring it across, what timing. I mean, those things really start dominating. And I've been doing this sessions where asking that apart from social media, what else do you do? Because social media just came along and social media will continue, but then the other things were there. It was side by side. It's never any one specific thing. It's a combination of, and so even by what you're saying, everything, it's a combination of
Yes,
things which are around. So if from the fact that you worked in India for so long, then you worked for corporate here, and then you've now in your entrepreneurial journey that you've started, is there something which is common all along, which you have followed, something like some mantra for yourself, which you continue to?
From marketing perspective, or generally as
anything, as an entrepreneur, or anything, something which you have always done, maybe marketing perspective, or maybe you can give us both.
Okay. I think the most important thing I've said is you have to enjoy what you do, is been my biggest mantra. So I always believe that when you get up in the morning, if you have that enthusiasm to look up to, I think that's the first mantra, absolutely, which works for me. I think that passion, that energy, and the thinking, as I said, thinking of whether it's micro content, nano content, this client. I think client is today, but I think otherwise. So that's the first thing. The second is understanding the importance of what drives a brand. I think from a marketing perspective, I've always looked at it. Marketing is just a tactic to get your brand out. So, but you really need to understand why you need the brand. So I spend a lot of time deliberating now within with the client, etc. But earlier with the CEOs and the management teams were, why are you wanting to do this? Why do you want to launch a brand? Why do you want to take it forward? Why do you want? So I worked with a company which was nearly 70 years into business, and I was like, so why do you want? You're already a known brand. So it was interesting to deliberate, and so that curiosity to figure out is something that I think has kept me going. So these two things, largely, and a mix of every other tactic which follows. But once you know the why you want to push it forward, I think you're able to bring everything else together. So that's largely the crux of it, and which falls in place.
So apart from marketing, what else drives your and passion and makes you happy when you get up in the morning, Arundhati?
Reading. I love to. So even before I get off my bed, I read. I try to read. So rather than looking at the mobile phone, I read a couple of pages. So it helps me get out.
Non-fiction, yeah.
A mix. So it depends. I'm a typical, if you can call it, Cancerian who's very moody. So it's that moment which kind of excites me. So I have the stack of books and I pick up whichever one. I also have this habit of reading multiple books at the same time. So that's one. As my stress buster, it's gardening and plants, which I really enjoy. I kind of talk to them, and flowers and all make me happy. On an adventure aspect, I love traveling and exploring new places, and I used to cycle quite extensively. So that kind of keeps me going. It's been, I don't know, back burner right now, but so a mix of all of it. I think anything that keeps you high-spirited.
So before we wrap up, I would like to ask you, is there any message that you would like to give to people who are in the marketing field or marketing students or people who aspire to become entrepreneurs? Is there something that you would like to tell them?
Firstly, it's one of the most interesting areas to be. So it's very creative. So if you have, even if you don't have a creative blend of mind, I think it's constantly evolving. So everyone, whether you're a business owner or you're a professional, dabbing into marketing and learning the nuances of it, it's very exciting. The second is marketing and technology is kind of going so hand in hand now. So it's important that everyone learns both of it, both these aspects, and understands that, how it's able to help us to reach the right audiences. And the third most important is underlying all of this, ultimately you're dealing with people. So, marketing has a way of connecting, not just of selling a product, but more connecting with people. So the more people connect with you and your brand, they will come towards you. So I think these are the three key things.
Thank you so much for your time, Arundhati. I wish you all the very best, and we'll definitely follow your journey, and we hope to have a chat again another time, another place, with and definitely learn more about what kind of progress you made. So all the very best, and thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you, Dr. Shambhavi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.